I'm Nathan Judah. I'm here with Wolves supporters Mr. Liam Keane. It's very dark, very dreary, and that's not just outside Compton Park, it's inside as well. Bizarrely, after last night, only a few hours after last night's defeat, we're back with a pre-match press conference for the West Ham United game. Look, I don't think if Gary O'Neill and Wolves had the chance to change it, I'm sure they would do, but this was they have to do it, it's obligatory. And you know, we knew what to expect from Gary O'Neill. He fronted up to the media, fronted up to a lot of questions, almost half an hour in there, Liam, and more of the same. Look, he says that he's going to prepare the boys for Monday night, so they'll be in the best possible position. He knows that they're in dire straits, he knows he needs to turn it around, but he reiterates that he is the best man for this job.
Yes, absolutely. The first thing I want to say, I don't know whether this will go down particularly well with people watching and reading and listening, but Gary O'Neill deserves a lot of credit for the way he just took that press conference, I think, because his position's clearly under threat. We don't know yet whether he's going to be taking the West Ham game for certain. There's obviously suggestions that he may not. He says he will, as far as he's aware at the moment. It says he hasn't spoken to the hierarchy, but have some bottle about you, come in, front up a lot of difficult questions, and deal with it with, I think, a lot of grace and a lot of charm. I think is really quite impressive. Now, fans won't like that. Fans will want him out of the club. I think that's important for me to say, first of all. Secondly, it is a remarkably difficult position for him because he's took training today. As far as we're aware at the moment, he is taking training going forward over the next couple of days. But there is a possibility that could change. We know that Wolves are looking at potential successors. They will be considering their options. He could still get the West Ham game, and that becomes a big game in the sack race, really, for Lopetegui and O'Neill. But what Wolves have been left in is limbo. Whether he is here or not, short term or long term, Wolves need some stability, and they need that on the pitch as well as off it.
It does feel, watching that press conference, watching how Gary O'Neill spoke, and he will always back himself, he always back his ability, and he's never ever said that he wouldn't. You know, I think he's very been strong on that, but we do get the impression, and like you say, with the story that broke this morning about the future, about them sounding out candidates, it does feel like it's when and not if, when Gary O'Neill will be let go.
Yeah, it is starting to feel that way. I think he was asked directly about that, and I think he's quite keen to try and push the narrative away from him and focus on the players and what they can do. Understandably so, he doesn't want to dig the players out, but it is seeming to trend in that direction. Now, look, as we've made clear in our video this morning, as we made clear in the story that we broke this morning, Gary O'Neill could still be in charge of West Ham. Now, let's speak hypotheticals for a second. If West Ham goes remarkably well, considering the last two results and performances, who knows? Perhaps he's here for Ipswich, perhaps he's here for Leicester. But it feels like now that a lot would have to change for that to happen.
It feels like something's got to give.
It feels like something's got to give.
And last night,
actually, sorry to cut you off, he did speak about that in the press conference, talking about things that, you either stick with what you're doing and improve a hell of a lot, or you make a drastic change. He was talking about the team at that point, but I think it's actually a phrase that you can use really for Wolves as a whole, about Gary, about
his future,
the team, about his
absolutely,
future. Wolves have got a big decision to make, and it will depend a lot on the next couple of days, particularly with how available certain candidates, names I'm sure some that we're not aware of, how available they are. Wolves have got a big decision to make.
And look, like you say, Gary O'Neill could go to West Ham on Monday night, they could win, but you do feel like the decision has been taken out of his hands with the manner of the defeat last night, with the way the players were. And look, you can look at the analysis video less than 12 hours ago, you can watch the video we did this morning about the candidates, but those players for the first time looked like they weren't playing for this manager, and I think that is what will change the hierarchy today to potentially make a decision, whether that be before the West Ham game or after the game. I would say personally, watching that press conference, that regardless of the result that they will get at West Ham, whether Gary O'Neill's in charge or not, it looks like they'll make a change. Judging by Gary O'Neill's demeanour, I feel like he thinks that will happen too.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. He's got a great relationship with the players. He says that publicly. I've got no reason to suggest otherwise. I've spoken to plenty of people, and you'll always get different accounts, but from the majority, I've been told he's got a very good relationship with the players. But when things aren't working, the players will become frustrated, disillusioned. and that was the most alarming thing, as you say, worrying thing about last night is the manner in which Wolves lost that game. So it becomes a really difficult line to tread, doesn't it? I think Gary Neal will go and have a good career elsewhere if he isn't at Wolves. It's a shame that a manager who came in 4 days' notice is potentially going to end it like this.
Yeah.
But I think if he does leave and it ends the way that we perhaps are expecting it to, I do think he can leave with a little bit of credit and his head held high in some regards. There's been mistakes made. He's, I think disappointed at times with some decisions this season. But he's held himself in really sort of good grace, as I said earlier in this video, and that's going to be important, I think, moving forward. And in hindsight, I hope fans can appreciate that.
But he's always been fair, but he's always been accountable as well. And he said, look, the buck stops with him, regardless.
Yeah.
He gets paid very well to do this job, and he understands the consequences when Wolves are 19th in the table and look like they are slap bang in the middle of a relegation battle. And let's be honest, watching from last night, that they're a relegation candidate, a big relegation candidate, and at this moment in time, something needs to change, and it could be Gary O'Neill. This situation is very fluid; it will change very quickly throughout the next hours, days, maybe even minutes, and we'll be there to bring you it all on expressandStar.com.